understand.
So you kick him out of play.
Yeah, 82% of his goal kicks.
Hello everybody, my name's Joe.
And I'm Rob.
And today we're going to be talking about the importance of homegrown talent within the modern game of football.
Welcome to Word on Wayside.
On the topic of homegrown talent, let's talk a little bit about some of our favourite homegrown talents.
Favourite? Newcastle have... Do you know what? Because the academy got neglected for quite a few years, admittedly. And we never had many come through. We had Sean Longstaff who came through, who scored some vital goals for us. And might be a healthy FFP prophet one day. Lewis Miley recently coming through. And then apparently he's got other brothers coming through who are showing a lot of talent. So maybe the academy's being neglected, which maybe showed so much struggle in terms of when we weren't spending big and we were struggling, unlike other teams who were fighting around the middle of the pack, even like Sunderland, who had a much better academy, because maybe not as much of a neglected academy, because you had some great players when you were in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, Sunderland also went through a similar thing where our academy got neglected a couple of years ago when we were in League One. Our owners were just looking to sell anybody that could turn a profit on. So you look at that Jordan Hugel, who went to Man U, did really well, came from Sunderland. Sam Greenwood left, came from Sunderland. There's a few other lads who came through at Sunderland. Probably like Barley Mumba, now playing for Plymouth, probably should still be a Sunderland player. But we sold them for a profit. Now, thankfully, we're actually getting young lads coming through who were playing for Sunderland.
Who wanted to stay,
and I think the other lads probably wanted to stay. They just didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
when someone came in,
it was like, oh, that's an easy bit of money.
Yeah, like in the summer we turned down, I think, 2.5 million, 3 million for Tommy Watson off Brighton.
Yeah.
So it just shows they're a bit more serious about.
Because if that was 5 years ago.
If that was 5 years ago,
Tommy Watson was gone. Yeah.
I mean, I think you look at Sunderland's team now. The team we picked last Saturday. I mean, we had injuries and suspensions. Had 4 academy graduates in. And if Patterson had been in, it would have been in more. Because I think Dan Neil played, Chris Rigg played, Tommy Watson played. Obviously, Patterson normally plays, and then even on the bench we had, I think, 4 young lads. So it just shows, I think, when you put an emphasis on youth, you get the rewards in these good young players coming through. Yeah,
exactly. Because, for example, even with yous, I mean, as a Newcastle fan, you have to give credit where it's due, where you have people like Chris Rigg, who is 17-year-old, unbelievably talented, and even if he doesn't stay with you his whole career, you're going to make a very healthy money on. Unlike some clubs who maybe don't, like Newcastle. Like I said, we haven't got that many unbelievable academy talents. Even the academy players we have at the minute who are looking good. One was signed from Man City, the other one was signed from Birmingham. Like, it kind of shows the contrast where you maybe don't have to spend as much, because if you lose your academy players, like you don't have Patterson, you don't have Rigg, you're spending more money on players. So it shows how important it is, like, having them players. They're just vital, because I feel like they lift the crowd and they bring just an extra, because they understand it more compared to someone who you buy from abroad coming in. So it's just...
That's one thing I've always been surprised at with Newcastle, a club like that size, of like the last sort of 20 years of not really brought many talents through. Which is surprising. But I suppose, like you say, if it's been neglected, and then the youth talent probably thinks, well, if I'm not really going to get a chance here, I'll go to Sunderland or I'll go to Middlesbrough, who are like right on your doorstep as well.
You'd think as well, with obviously Newcastle being such a big football, and same as Sunderland being such a big footballing city, you'd assume that there'd be loads of kids who'd come into these academies. But like you said, like when Sunderland and Middlesbrough, who care about the academy a lot more, are right on the doorstep, it's easy to let them slip away. Like in the last probably 5-6 years, we've probably had the 2 Longstaff brothers, and one of them's now in Canada. We've had Lewis Miley, who's come through, who's looked good, and we had Elliot Anderson, who's now been sold for FFP, which is just the fact you have to do that as well.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. You're almost getting punished
for having a good academy.
Yeah, not punished as such, but it benefits you to get rid of your young players.
Yeah, when it shouldn't be that.
It should be the other way around. It should be, if you can develop these young players and have these young players, you should be almost rewarded for that. So it's a shame that that's sort of how it's come to. But I suppose, so I know we've talked about how Newcastle haven't had many, but if you had to pick one, who's your favourite who's come through in the last... In your lifetime, who's your favourite?
In my lifetime, it's a difficult one to pick a favourite. Tell you what, because of just the moment itself, fair enough, sometimes it's frustrating, but the moment what Longstaff gave against PSG, I think that moment was even better because he was a Geordie. Like, I think my favourite, I mean, we had Andy Carroll come through, we made for 30 million. I'm pretty sure Shola Ameobi actually was
He's a
Ulrich,
Newcastle
he was a
lad,
Newcastle lad. I was 95% sure. Probably Scholler, actually. Now I think about it, probably Scholler and Miobi. I just completely
I
on my
think
mind.
from a Sunderland perspective, I would go. I think my favourite's probably Dan Neil, but Chris Rigg has probably got the highest ceiling out of everybody, and he'll probably go on to do the most in the game. But I don't know. I mean, it's like you said earlier. It's just nice to see lads from your lads who represent you.
Yeah,
they're the same background. All of them, well, 99.9% of professional footballers are working class. And if they come from your background, you can see a bit of yourself in them.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're living like your dream pretty much. Like even with when Miley came through and played at PSG away, 17-year-old lad, probably from the same like background as me, and all of a sudden he's playing for Newcastle in the Champions League. You want him to succeed a bit more than fair enough. You obviously want no matter who plays for your club to succeed, but when it's like one of your own, it just gives that extra like emphasis and that extra enjoyment to the situation.
Yeah. So you've heard from us now, but we asked the same question on a public survey to get various responses. See if we had anything interesting being said. So we'll go through some of these survey results now. So we asked. The first question was, has any young players come through, and what football club do you support? So we've had a various range of answers. We've had an Arsenal fan, a Rangers fan, multiple Sunderland fans, a Tottenham fan, a Newcastle fan, a Man United fan. So we've had lots of various different answers. So we'll go through some of them. So our question 2 was, is it important to see homegrown talent being brought through? Every single answer was yes.
Except someone put Ethan Wanyeri.
Yeah,
I don't think they got
someone
that.
Misunderstood
I think someone misunderstood the question there.
And then literally every single one was yes. Someone put, it gives opportunities to young players and acts as inspiration to other young players, which is totally like pretty much touching on what we've said. And then someone has also said 100% it's something English football is all about. Important to invest in the academies and give more young players a chance to our own talented players. Too many foreign players in clubs these days. I mean, you can understand why people want to see, because not only does it benefit your club, if they're good enough, it benefits English football because they go play for England.
Exactly.
So literally every single person we asked said yes.
No one's going to say, honestly, like we said, the only negative is if you have one of these top youngsters and you are in middle of the pack and you're not like a top club, like someone put Ethan Wanyeri, that's Arsenal. Arsenal probably won't have to sell an unbelievable talent like Ethan Wanyeri. I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name right.
Yeah.
Because they don't need the financial situation where as Sunderland or Newcastle with their answer, Sunderland might one day have to sell one of their top youngsters like Rigg or Dan Neil or maybe even Patterson.
I don't think it's a thing in the Championship.
But if you
PSR,
go for the Premier League, because you
yeah.
obviously have to spend a lot, and like you said, you'd then be getting.
It's something that needs to be addressed, I think, from the governing bodies, because it's not right that you like almost encouraged to sell your own players because it would help you with your PSR. So it's something that definitely needs to be touched on. And then
Jordan Henderson here, one mentioned. Obviously, he went and absolutely smashed his career. You could say what you want maybe about him as a football player, but as a career as a whole, he's one of the more. It's not even bad to say one of the most successful English footballers ever in terms of what he's won.
Probably. Well,
he's definitely up there in the modern era.
Liverpool's most successful
player. 100%. And that's crazy to say when
they had
Steven Gerrard, but Champions League, in that Premier League, where he was a vital part of the team, especially in them few years.
League Cup, FA Cup, Club World Cup, literally everything you could possibly win at club level, he did.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he was obviously a Sunderland lad.
And then our third question was, which homegrown player from the club you support has inspired you in any way? Again, we had lots of different answers. And I'm guessing it's the same person who has put Ethan Wanyeri, has said he's inspired me because despite the world-class talent in this Arsenal team, he knows the level he has to be at consistently and can't let it drop. And it really makes you think, if I put my mind to something, even a fraction of what this player is going to become, then I can do okay, and that's very motivating. And I think that's a great message.
That's basically, honestly, when you put it like that, that's bang on the money. Yeah. Because if you're looking at a kid succeeding, and you're there like, wow.
Yeah.
That's wow.
Wow.
When you see someone doing it for your club, and that just it inspires you compared to paying 150 million for them.
Yeah. So we've had Ali McCoy back in the day, fabulous player, and all-round nice family guy. There you go. Jordan Henderson. We've had a Chris Rigg. We've had a Luke O'Nien, which I think someone's misunderstood the question because he didn't come through Sunderland's academy.
Harry Kane worked his way up from Tottenham's academy and ended up being the second top scorer in the Premier League and Spurs' top scorer, despite not winning anything. It's obviously unbelievable what he did, and then got 100 million for Tottenham. Yeah. So Harry Kane's another one.
Harry Kane he did everything he possibly could to help Tottenham. He scored lots of goals, then made loads
was
of
in title races.
Yeah.
Jacob Ramsey, another one, Aston Villa. We've had not just the North East, it's all over the country, it's all over the world.
It is. It's not just a North East thing, but
it's something which I think it's slightly, maybe it's definitely biased because I'm from the North East, but I feel like it's more, how do I word this? It's more important from in the North East just because of the passion.
I feel like it is, yeah.
Like, compared to, obviously, Kobe Mainoo, unbelievably successful in Manchester United, but I feel like this is, no, obviously, but I feel like if he was a Geordie or a Mackham, he'd just be appreciated that little bit more.
Even going back to older generations, here we've got a Gary Rowell, my favourite player growing up. We had, from a Villa supporter, Gordon Cowans went on to be a league winner, European Cup winner. So, like you say, it is all over the country, but I think there is a real emphasis on it in the North East that we really appreciate. So we went out and asked people who is their favourite player who currently plays or has played for their club.
Lewis Miley stepped up during a time where we had a lot of injuries and performed to a high standard. Growing up in Newcastle, he knows what playing for the club truly means.
Harry Kane, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. He's the top goal scorer for Spurs and he's the second highest goal scorer in the Premier League. He's been with us, or he was with us for so many years, and he's just Tottenham through and through.
Sean Longstaff.
He loves the club as much as the fans, and you can always tell how much he appreciates playing for Newcastle, and he always gives 100% no matter what.
So it's interesting how all the answers were players who have come through their club's youth academy.
Which further shows how much fans and clubs just appreciate how important these youth academy players are.
Yeah, definitely.
Newcastle United did a very interesting interview with Lewis Miley about the importance of his growth through the academy, starting from the age of 7 in the under-7 squad, all the way up to making his first team debut at 17.
My first memories probably come here at about under-7 with some of my teammates from boys club level. Just remember playing on the AstroTurf outside, playing some little small-sided games.
Yeah, really interesting interview there from Lewis Miley, where he's talking about how important the club's been for his growth since he's been there since he was, 7, all the way to making his first team debut at 17.
Newcastle obviously doing that interview as well to show how proud they are of a young talent from Newcastle area coming through their academy, playing for their first team, instead of spending multi-million pounds on a bigger, like, worldwide known player, someone they've brought through, someone they've created themselves through their structure.
Sunderland did a similar thing with Chris Rigg as well. When he signed his new contract, he did an interview where he spoke about the importance of the academy.
The academy's been so important to me. I think all the staff have been unbelievable with me. The staff haven't changed much as well, so it's helped me a lot. I know everyone in the building, I know all the players. So yeah, that's mainly just for the backroom staff that do all the work every day.
Chris Rigg obviously spoke about the importance of the backroom staff who was there from when he was in the academy until where he is now in the senior squad, giving him that familiarity of, just that comfortable surrounding, just understanding all the way through his development that he's got the same people around him, knowing it's a good team, trusting the team.
And again, Sunderland have done the same thing with Newcastle. They've done that interview not only to showcase Chris Rigg's new contract, which was the premise of the interview, but to show how proud they are of the system they've put in place to bring youth players through. Okay, thank you everybody for listening to this podcast. This has been
Word on Wayside.